What's up, guys? Billy from Maxx again, and today we're going to have a little discussion piece again, and this is going to be second focal plane versus first focal plane, and this is all my opinion on the matter, so take it for what it's worth. This isn't the gospel, but this is how I feel about it. We're also going to be doing a little update and sneak peek on a couple things, so be on the lookout for those. As always, make sure you subscribe here, follow me on Instagram, Maxx Guns. And if you feel like, support me on Patreon, patreon.com/MadMaxGuns. Let's get into it. So, the scopes that we're going to be talking about today are this Burris XTR 1-8 in the second focal plane. It is sitting in a 193 ADM mount on the Mr. Stormtrooper gun. We have my new PRS gun, my 6mm by 47 Lapua, and the Remington 700 Action. This is an Arkin Optics SH4 Gen 2 in 6-24. This is a first focal plane, and then this scope right here is a Maven RS5 in a second focal plane. It is a 4-24 by 50. I did a review on this for TargetTamers.com. Make sure you check them out. The reviews should be dropping next couple weeks, but be on the lookout for that. So let's talk about it a little. Why you might want to use a first focal plane versus second focal plane. I used to be in the area where if it wasn't first focal plane, it wasn't shit, right? So you grow as a shooter, you grow to start making your own opinions on things, which is ironic because I'm essentially pushing my opinion on you right now, but that's neither here nor there. You understand why certain things fit certain applications. Now, in my experience with low power variable optics, typically 1-6s and 1-8s is what I have used. If you go in the direction of being second focal plane, if you go in the direction of being first focal plane, you start to run into convoluted reticles, and sometimes when you're all the way in on one power, you're not really seeing much, especially if it's not a daylight bright especially if it's not a daylight bright illumination. You run into issues like the EOTech Voodoos on one magnification. You really weren't seeing much on a bright day. The reticle unmagnified, or the reticle unilluminated, was washed out, and the illumination was pretty much useless. Same thing with primary arms, but like the Raptor in the first focal plane. The newer ones got better with it, and I'm told the new EOTech Voodoos have better illumination as well, but the illumination on the Vortex Razors and the Viper, surprisingly, and an optic that definitely hasn't got enough attention, this Burris XTR. I'll see if I can get a picture for you, but this, I usually leave it setted on between like 7 or 8 in the daylight, but it goes all the way up to 11. 11 is far too bright, even in the brightest of bright days. And I think that is in part due to that it's a second focal plane. There's not a whole lot of reticle that needs to be illuminated. It's just a point in the middle. That's where I ran into issue with the NX8. On one magnification, the reticle was not very precise. It was a 1 MOA, or it might have been a 1/4 MOA block, but it's surrounded by like this little wannabe donut of death, and it just made everything so convoluted. Anything that has like a Tremor 3 reticle where it starts illuminating a lot, or even if it's not illuminating, it's just a lot of reticle for something that you're essentially treating as a red dot, and this optic and the Vortex Razor hit it right on the nose for me. Also, when you're not going to be holding over or holding for wind at one magnification too often, at least I'm not, and I'm also not going to be fooling around at like 4 power. 6 power and 8 power are enough magnification to reach out and hit something that is going to be within reach for this gun, or like a short barrel 308 or even a 16-inch gun. This is a 14.5-inch. But it has enough field of view where you're going to have enough like surrounding, or it has enough field of view where you can like see everything around, and if you're looking for bullet traces you can still see it. Whereas something in a higher magnification, you're going to want to dial off of it if you're looking for bullet trace and you're shooting in that mid-range range. So I personally like the idea of the second focal plane for a low power variable optic, because you're either going to be on that 1 or that 6, 8. The 10, like the 1 to 10s, I understand why you might go in the first focal plane direction, but I haven't had any experience with those. I've only used 1 to 8 and 1 to 6. So that's my opinion on second focal plane versus first focal plane in the low power variable optic. Easier to get that red dot like on the 1 power, and the subtensions at between 2 and 5 or 7 magnification are pretty much irrelevant. Now on to the long range guys. So both these optics are 24 on the high end. One's a 4 on the low end, the other one's a 6 on the low end. They both have magnification that is pretty much useless in the daylight. They are usable with some like overcast, but that's neither here nor there. For me, when you're shooting long range and you're going to be changing targets, you do a lot of backing off to a lower magnification to find the target that you're looking for, and you dial back on, but you're not typically dialing all the way up, especially if you're looking for bullet trace or impact when the gun moves. You don't want to lose sight of the target. And if you're holding for wind, you're going to want those first focal plane subtensions that are in relation to the magnification that you're at. Whereas the second focal plane subtensions only are on at max magnification, so that becomes a problem in the target identification and shooting and staying on target and all that if you're holding for wind. But in the mid-ranges, in the 4 to 16s, 3 to 15s, 3 to 18s, 2 to 12s, 2 to 10s, in that broad spectrum of magnification, the second focal plane would also make sense, because if you're dialed all the way on when you're actually shooting, you're not so high where, like the 1 to 6, 1 to 8, you're not losing that field of view. Especially when you're shooting in the mid ranges of like between 4 and 700 yards. The 14s, the 15s, the 16 magnifications, those are still very usable all the way out to 1,000, and you still have that field of view, if that makes sense. This video was more of a discussion piece for me. It wasn't like super planned out, but I hope I got my point across to you guys that just because it's second focal plane doesn't mean it's a shitty optic. However, know its limitations, know its purposes, know what you're buying the scope for, the purpose that you're buying the scope for. If you have any questions about what I think about a certain optic and for what you're using it for, drop in the comments below. Hit me up on Instagram at MadMaxGuns. As always, if you like the video, hit like. Like I said before, make sure you subscribed. We're trying to build the channel. And then as always, if you didn't like the video, eat a dick. Now, if you made it this far, you might like my channel. You might want to support me. I got some stickers rolling out, and if you want to support me, hit up my Patreon, patreon.com/MadMaxGuns. Shoot me a message on there, and I'll just send you a sticker. It's like just buying a sticker from me. Would you look at that? I got some shirts in the works. I got a website in the works. I'm also, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm working with TargetTamers.com, so check them out. I got nothing else for you. Peace out.